Kia ora guys, welcome back to the Black Jersey. My name's Max and I'm the host over here at this channel. This week I'm going to be covering two of the summer warm-up test matches as you guys up north know them as, and I'll be covering the All Blacks versus Wallabies second Bledisloe Cup test in Dunedin, which the winner of one of my giveaways is going to, and I'll also be waking up at 4:30 AM on the Sunday to watch England versus Wales. So a big thank you to my patrons before we get into reacting to the All Blacks and Wallabies matchday team sheets for this weekend. Thank you very much once again, guys, as I always say. First off, the All Blacks, a lot of resting and rotating before the World Cup. There are, let's just say, a lot of these guys who are really up on trial for World Cup positions, and with the penultimate match before the tournament starts, the final one before the squad is named, it's going to be pretty intense. Tamaiti Williams gets his first start as an All Black for his second ever test match at loose head prop. He's paired with Samisoni Taukei'aho, who will start for the first time this year. It's a pretty safe bet that Taukei'aho is going to the World Cup, but Nepo Laulala does get to start for his final home test match as an All Black before he departs over to Toulouse in France. Really good for him. Laulala is also joined by Brodie Retallick and Sam Whitelock, who are also getting their final home games. Really good for them to do it as a duo as well, considering they have been a locking partnership for 11 years since I was 12 years old. Over on the loose forwards, it's a very different looking mix though. Scott Barrett and Shannon Frizzell are both getting rest, so Frizzell won't get to have that one final home swan song in Dunedin, whereas Sami Penny Finau is going to debut. Finau is just a centimetre shorter than Frizzell and a kg heavier, and so with the whole policy of wanting a third lock at 6, Finau is perfect for the job. Sam Cane's back from a sore neck and Artie Savia's at number 8. As for bench cover for the forwards, Dane Coles also gets that final swan song, whereas the Blues and Crusaders partnerships have been split up with Ofa Tu'ungafasi going alongside Fletcher and Newell. This is just the second game that Newell has played in 2023 because of a broken toe and a broken hand, so fingers crossed Newell is going to go really well, as Joe Moody is not too far away from returning from injury at all, and Joe Moody could end up taking his World Cup place if he's available for selection. I've got really high hopes for Newell in the long term, so hopefully he's going to do a decent job off the bench. Tupou Vaa'i is playing though, and not Josh Lord, so I'm starting to suspect that if Lord's only played just one test, him and Finau are either fighting for one spot or there is going to be an extra back taken in the team, and fair enough to see Luke Jacobson in the reserves because he does need more game time at number 8. Hopefully it's going to be Savia that gets subbed off, as he has played every single test this year, started them all at number 8, so fingers crossed for that. As for the backline, Finlay Christie and Damian McKenzie had played just 12 minutes as a 9-10 axis in 2021, so this is going to be one heck of a gamble playing the both of them. I'm now starting to get a little worried for Cam Roigard. He's not playing, so either the coaches have seen enough, so they want to give Aaron Smith his final swan song, or Finlay Christie is fighting off to keep Brad Weber from taking his spot at the World Cup, as Weber is still in contention, having captained the All Blacks 15. McKenzie plays just his 4th test with the 10 shield on his back, and everyone's been begging for it, so hopefully he's going to go well as well. As for the midfield partnership, Anton Leonard-Brown is paired with Braden Ennor. They have not played a lot of minutes together, so it's good to have them doing that before the World Cup spot. Ennor is going to have to play his absolute heart out as David Havili is returning for Tasman this weekend. I'm wishing him very well for that. Whereas with the outside backs, Leicester Fainga'a-Anuku will play his 3rd test, Sean Stevenson will play his 1st, whereas Will Jordan, having played just 23 minutes of international rugby at fullback, will wear the 15 jersey for the first time. Amoni Narawa, Leicester Fainga'a-Anuku and Sean Stevenson, there's only going to be room for one of them in the World Cup squad, so whichever one of these two plays the best, I think in this game we'll be dueling with Narawa for the final spot on the outside back, as outside back spots will always come down to form in World Cup years. That's just the roll of the dice when you play in that position. I'm over to the bench though. Aaron Smith getting the swan song, absolutely perfect to finish off his career, as he'll be playing in the 80th minute. Also excellent to see Richie Mo'unga getting the swan song, though they have done the wise move starting McKenzie to get him ready for the World Cup. And Dallas McLeod, I think it's pretty safe to say he was indeed a placeholder for Havili, as he's on the bench as well, and so Stevenson could be a cap and dump. McLeod could be dropped before the World Cup unless he plays really well, and so there are really guys fighting for positions. We're going to take an ad break before we get into the Wallabies. As for the Australian camp, there are also a lot of guys who are playing for World Cup spots, especially in the type 5 forwards now that Alan Alaalatoa has really sadly been ruled out due to injury. Taniela Tupou may be joining him due to a rib injury as well. The front row is Angus Bell, who basically selects himself after what was an absolutely outstanding performance last week. He was epic last week. Dave Harecki is starting in all of Eddie Jones's tests as coach, so that one's fairly obvious as well. And Pone Fa'amausili. With Jordan Uelese, James Slipper on the bench, they were also very obvious picks. But with Zane Nongo, who didn't exactly do the best against South Africa, also on the bench, Fa'amausili is going to have to play his absolute freaking heart out, because with Alaalatoa, an irreplaceable player, gone, they are really going to need people to step up at tight head prop. Locks, I can see everything else improving for Australia right now, but locks, I'm kind of starting to worry. I'm starting to worry, like, are they a lost cause for that position? Richie Arnold and Nick Frost continue to start, and Frost is probably the only lock in that team that is indeed world class, whereas Will Skelton has gone to the bench. So is Eddie Jones just simply going to have to suck it up for this World Cup, then immediately turn for the next generation in 2024? I think that is indeed yes going to be the answer. As for the loose forwards, they've got a perfect balance. Once again, Tom Hooper, who made 32 tackles last week in one heck of an amazing defensive performance. I'm very happy to see him back in the team after he really just learned a lot of lessons from playing poorly on his debut, took them in his stride, and did the right thing to back it up with a far better performance. Fraser McReight, who I think probably should have been the captain for this week, is back, which is good to see, and Rob Ballatini rounds out the forward pack after having a really good performance throughout the Rugby Championship as well, playing all of the minutes available through the tournament. Rob Leota's on the bench as well, and I think he's probably the best guy to cover that bench, covering 6 and 8. With Michael Hooper injured, there isn't really another class 7, so Tom Hooper maybe will just have to do the job again with him playing as a second blindside once again if Leota replaces McReight. Tate McDermott, 24 years old and captain of the Wallabies. Long term, I think this is going to be a very good idea for the Wallabies, with McDermott getting ready now for the 2025 British and Irish Lions tour if Alan Alaalatoa isn't going to be captain for that 2025 tour. I do think that McDermott or Alaalatoa are going to be the captain long term, and Carter Gordon, as Eddie Jones said, did show signs that he could be a really class player in the future last week. I think it was just the sake of the huge crowd and just the nerves of playing in his home city that got the best of him, and I think with that kicking game we saw for most of the early stages of the game that Eddie Jones is doing the right thing by backing him again. If you're not performing well, turning to the next generation is the right thing, and I'm starting to get a real bit of a Jacques Brunel vibe about the return of Eddie Jones right now. As for the rest of the backs, Marika Koroibete, Mark Nwangani-Tawasi, you've got two guys who are very much on the opposite side of the coin. Nwangani-Tawasi's turning into a world-class player, but with Koroibete's tackle technique, I'm starting to worry, like, is he really badly going to hurt somebody? The centres are unchanged with Samu Karevi and Jordan Pataya, so is Andrew Callaway at fullback, probably going to be the guy who's going to continue starting under Jones. The replacement backs, it's the right thing, as I've said in the past, having experienced guys off the bench. I just don't want Nick White and Quay Cooper to come on too early due to, I guess, how things went last week, whereas Isaiah Parisi, I guess, is in the same boat. It's just the best thing they've got at centre with Len Ikitau out of contention. So overall, guys, how do I think this game is going to pan out? I think that Eddie Jones has gone for a very similar looking team. I can see ideas that are starting to foment with that very clear third and fourth line-out jumper in that selection. I can see him starting to turn to the next generation in terms of the spine very slowly and shortly, and I do think that it's good to see the sentiment of a few All Blacks veterans playing their last game at home, whereas the likes of, Stevenson, Enor, Christie even, Finau, they're really going to be playing hard for a World Cup spot, and so bad performances over there could screw those guys over pretty badly. It kind of feels bad of me to predict the All Blacks to win again, because every time I seem to predict a massive win, it goes sideways. But you know what? I'm going to be biased here. I'm going to back my home team. I'm going to be proud of my country, and I'm going to say the All Blacks to win by 16 points, just getting the job done in that second half again, as the Wallabies under Eddie Jones are just not having the best run with ending games in that second half. Thank you very much for watching the video as per usual, guys. I really appreciate it, and make sure to like this video and subscribe to me if you enjoy my content. I'm also over on Threads and over on Instagram, so make sure to support me over there. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. I better get out here. It's probably going to start raining soon, to get stuff off the line, so bye-bye. Cheers from Max.